Next is Mr. Bob Pejman.
Good evening, Mayor Lane, council members. I'm Bob Pejman, owner of Pejman Gallery. Address is on the record. And last time I spoke before you regarding parking codes and related items, and I called our parking code deficient. I want to go over this again. So let's put our current parking code up again on the screen. As soon as you can see it. Okay. So basically, this is our parking code, and the reason I'm calling it deficient is that for one unit bedroom apartments, there's only a requirement of having one parking space. And there is absolutely no guest parking spaces required per code. On the hotel parking code, the 1.25 parking spaces for each hotel room are more than sufficient, actually. But there's no dining or conference room space required, and more importantly, there's no hotel employee parking designated or required. So what I did last time, I presented you with some California comps. I presented you with Laguna Beach, Malibu, West Hollywood, and I just added Carlsbad. In all of those cases, the one-bedroom units require 1.5 parking spaces, and there is a one guest parking space ratio for each 4 units. Some I heard in the staff said those are not good comps. I don't know why. Expensive real estate, dense, but anyway, so I came up with more comps. Clark County, Nevada, which pretty much constitutes Las Vegas mostly. But still, 1.25 spaces per one bedroom. The 175 is a little less, but 1.25 per one bedroom, and one guest parking space per each 5 units. By far excels ours. City of Austin, somebody said, look up Texas. And that's a city that is 3 times or 4 times more population than ours. Still 1.5 parking spaces per one bedroom. And then 0.5 additional spaces for each additional bedroom. Bottom line is all these cities, they recognize that one-bedroom units have more than 1 car, and condos have this funny thing called guests that need to come there and park. And we don't recognize that. Let me go to hotel parking. Our requirement is 1.25. Let's compare it to, for example, City of Nashville, Tennessee. 1 parking space per room, and then 1 space for every 2 employees, which we don't have none. City of Laguna Beach, 1 parking space per room, 1 additional space for each 15 rooms, and then park an employee based on when they have the most amount of employees. So the bottom line is that for a city that's growing and we're getting denser and denser and denser, when the downtown wasn't growing so much, you could get away with these deficient codes. It didn't matter, much spillover. But when you're adding this much density, this is going to magnify these issues so much to the extent that it's really going to make things pretty miserable as far as parking. I hope it gets addressed. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Pejman. Next is Mr. French Thompson.
Good evening, Mayor Lane, Vice Mayor Milhaven, and City Council. Appreciate you having me at the time here. I'm not going to sound like a broken record, but I am going to say that the parking codes are deficient. They really need to be addressed. You know, when Museum Square started happening and we started realizing what was going on, we start reading these things. We look at that and you go, we're going to have density in the downtown. I'm aware that this is going to happen. You know, we got zoning for 150-foot buildings. We have zoning for 90-foot buildings. We have zoning for 120-foot buildings. So, we're going to have density. This is a great place to be. People are going to want to be here. But if you don't increase the amount of parking required by the developers, it's going to impact everybody in the future. When you get a building that's 150 foot, you're married to it. It isn't going to go away. It's going to be here for a long time. And if you don't address the needs for the parking, you're going to affect those tenants. You're going to affect the tenants of the people that are around it. You're going to affect the businesses. You know, I may not be here in 10 years. There'll be another business probably in my building. But if you don't have parking for those businesses, you're going to have a negative impact on them. And as Mr. Pedgman said, there are guests. If we want to say this downtown area is one of the most desirable area, and now there's people living here, they're going to have guests, and they're going to come down there in their cars. And interestingly enough, I just noticed out in the parking lot, all the city council people had their cars parked out there. You guys have private parking. Not everybody has that. So you're going to have to make an adjustment and have the developers build enough parking for the space and the use of those buildings. And you're going to have to stop selling phantom parking places that don't exist. You know, the city's got this great thing going. It's like, hey, somebody wants to build a place, put a thing in there, they need so much parking, well, we'll sell you some parking places that don't exist. The next guy right next door will sell them the same parking places. I've been watching this for a long time. I mean, it just boggles my mind that you can sell the same phantom parking places over and over when they don't exist, but the businesses that go in, they need them. So, you know, my request is that the City Council really strongly look at the parking requirements for the developers. And what I'm really afraid of, and I've seen this over and over, is you listen to people from out of town that are on the ground, they don't live here, and they're giving you all these things about, you got plenty of parking. They don't live it day to day. I can tell you for 22 years, there's not enough parking in the downtown right now. So thank you for your time, and I do hope that we can improve the parking regulations.
Thank you, Mr. Thompson.